Welcome back to Trading Candlesticks. This is just a video recap of the last couple days. I didn't get a chance to record a video yesterday, so going to cover what I've been doing and the progress since I started, just to kind of give a almost 1 week recap at this point. Really just 5 kind of full days of trading and learning. So with that, let's just go back to day one and recap really quick. So day one was just learning, tried one strategy, didn't place a ton of bets, obviously all binary options, all done on pocket options. And we'll go over and take a look at that in a minute. But this was day one. You can go back and watch the day one video to really hear about that. And then kind of the whole down story of the week. Let me move my picture out of the way here. Let's just shrink that down. So this is the day where I started following the strategy up here and then basically just messed around and unfortunately basically was guessing and trying to just catch things a little too late, not following the strategy exactly, and then kind of got back on track here a little bit at the end. You can go watch the day 2 recap for that, as well as what I learned. And then day 3, we really buckled down and started to just focus on the strategy and fine-tune the strategy. And I'll kind of talk about what I fine-tuned at the end when we go take a look at pocket options and maybe do some live trades, kind of depending on how long this goes. This kind of was, following the strategy the whole time. And this kind of ended up, all these bets were just $5. So that was kind of the overarching, let's just stick with $5. Let's not do 1%. And so this is almost up 4 bets, right? We're almost at plus $20. So it'd be, when the bet size finally increases to something much larger, that would be 4x whatever that bet was. So if the bets reach $100, then that'd be $400 of profit. Day 4, this one is a new graph. Looks like I was trying to make waves here with this graph, but this one again was just following the strategy. And so we've got some downswings, we've got some upswings, but overall at the end of the day, we ended up, 2.5, a little bit more, 2.6 bets, something like that. So that was also okay. I was definitely fine tuning kind of what I was trying to get out of my strategy. And we'll talk about that again in a second. And here is day 5. So this is more focus and fine tuning on the strategy and obviously spending some decent time. You can see the downswings don't last as long and the upswings are a bit longer. You can also see in here that I did make a couple of mistakes. So a lot of these are in the 435 to 460 range, which is like the 92% return. But you can also see, like right here, this one's 350 and 345 and 320. The 350 is probably about as low as I should be going. There was definitely, I remember this 320, I clicked it and I almost lost this bet. But then at the end, I got it back. But then I noticed it was like, 80% or 76% or whatever that is. And I was like, oh, I did not actually mean to place that bet. So the percentages are actually fluctuating very quickly on some of the currencies for the OTC on pocket options. So I really need to pay attention to that and make sure that that's one of my checks before I place the bet. Because the downside is I bet $5, I can only win 820, right? The 5 that I bet plus 320 more, but I can lose the full 5. And that's just not a good option for return, because you have to win almost 2 to 1 in order to make a profit. And that is not what we want. So that's day 5. That was yesterday. I felt pretty good about the trading day. My account is almost back up to what I started at after that $100 and some slide on day 2, which pretty much caused the whole problem. And then just here's a graph. I know you can't see the numbers, but you can really see, like, here's day 1, here's day 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. So you can see this line is trending up nicely, which is great. And this is just to be expected, learning, messing around, and really understanding how important strategy is. So with that, let's just click over to pocket options here. And I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So up at the top, you can see these percentages: 89, 84, 92, 82, 92. So like on an 82, you would get 9, 10 back. And that's not too bad. But there are definitely some, see if I have one at the top here that is much lower. Yeah, so right now, like euros to pounds, 56. So if I bet $5, I'm only going to get $7.80 back, which means I'm only going to win $2.80 if I win, and I'm going to lose $5. So that is really, you really almost need to win 2 for every one you lose just to break even. And that is way different than kind of getting $9.60 back, where it's $4.60, where yes, you would slightly lose money, essentially the spread, to pocket options site, if you were to break even on the number of trades, +1, -1, +1, -1. But overall, it's much, much closer. And so you can see that over here. If we drop down, this one I unfavorited last night because the favorites all show up at the top, because this was down to like 50%. So I try to come in here every once in a while and kind of undo the ones that are really low. And I generally kind of have 75 or something like that. And this one tends to fluctuate back up to 92 quite often. So hopefully I don't have anything below that. And that's how I really start my day. And so what I've kind of learned in this past 5 days or a week, I'm going to open this up a little bit more, is that like this is a great example. Right here, what we're trying to do is, had I been here when this happened, this is the RSI down here at the bottom and the stochastic oscillator as well. So, and then I have 2 Keltner channels of bands, and my outer Keltner channel is a wider Keltner channel. And the settings for that one are right here. And the settings for the inner one are right here. So what I'm watching for is basically anything that gets outside this blue channel, preferably almost the full candle being outside, at the same time that these lines are above or below 80. So we'll just talk about the above side for now. So like as an example, when we clicked on here, we were very close. I almost just clicked lower when I got here. But this is a candle that's fully outside, and our RSI was above 70. Both of our lines right here were above 80, and really we're trying to enter most of the time when the lines cross. So that would have been entering here at the end of that candle, and we would have put a bet in for lower for 2 minutes. There's 1 minute, there's 2 minutes. It would have been a fairly easy bet win. Does it always work? No. So let's back up and look at this one. So this barely crosses 70. And so I tend to look back at the graph and go, well, when I look back, how does it perform? Because these are all like right at 70, but like the one we just looked at, it was over 70. So like here's one that would have been probably over 70 right there, and it did pop again, so that wouldn't have been good. And you can see this kind of uptrends when they're just overbought, which is what this RSI is signaling. So that one would not have worked very well either. So it doesn't work all the time, and you do, what I've kind of noticed this week is watching for these trends where it's like just it's hammering up or hammering down. It's very difficult. So one of the things I learned was if this signals across the yellow band, generally it's going to signal, thank you for that auto forward, it's going to signal an uptrend, and at some point this is going to try and come back and touch this mean line right here in the middle. So it kind of tried to do it there, and then it continues to go up, but then it tends to come down. So like let's look at it here. It kind of signals, right? I mean, it signaled above this, came back, touched the line, went up again, and then came down. And I've noticed and learned from watching some videos that's a trend, but here's like the opposite, downtrend, comes out, signals a downtrend, comes back to the mean line, goes down again, but then doesn't quite make it back to hit the uptick yet, but then we get back up. So obviously there's no guarantees, but that is kind of the things that I tend to be looking at. Let's switch to let me find a different chart that's interesting. So, charts like this, I think are also interesting, where you kind of see this up and down, constant, but that does not have an example that I kind of want to look at. Let's see. So like this is also a fairly good example. We've got the lines above, and they cross the RSI here. Both lines are above. So I would have put a down bet in here if I was watching the chart, and we would have won that one. This isn't above 70, so I probably wouldn't have put it in. This one crosses the 70 line here, and the lines are there. So I would have put a down bet in there for sure, and I would have lost because this would have been down and then up, and so we would have closed lower. But I would have continued to watch this chart, and when it peaked again and the lines crossed down here, I would have put a down bet in here, and we would have won 2 minutes, and I would have won that one. On the downside, we get really close, like right here and here. I probably would have been watching the chart pretty closely, but probably would not have placed it because this is not far enough outside the blue. And then we don't really hit again until here. And if I been watching this one, I probably would have waited. And this is kind of what I've been doing, and I've been missing trades, so I need to probably stop doing this. I would have waited until this candle started and watched for the immediate trend, which I'm sure is a very bad thing to do because it resorts to me, oh, it started going down, so I shouldn't put in the bet, but then it shoots up, so I should just be trusting the process. Much, much better. Let's see if we can find another chart. So like this is an example of one where I've really been trying to avoid these kind of long climb. Like this is probably going to come back down because we signaled outside of the yellow. Here we went up, we came back to the mean line, and then we went up. And so this is probably about to be on its way down, but you could have put a down bet in here. You actually would have won. There's just so many peaks above this RSI line. And so for this particular currency, what I'm trying to learn is like maybe this RSI needs to actually be 75 in order for me to place a bet. So just trying to understand kind of all the differences between how currencies trade. And I think I've mentioned it before, but it seems like every time I trade anything in Japanese yen, I seem to just not do very well. I don't know what it is about the yen and how it trades with other currencies, but I seem like I just do not understand it well enough. So that's something I'm hopefully going to learn. I'm trying to find a good chart. So like here, it seems like if I pull back to 1 day and then pull back, this seems like a pretty normal chart. But when I look at it kind of down in the 4-hour range, and we set our indicators back to 1 minute, it just feels like it's kind of a long string of kind of all one direction for quite some time. And so it seems like when these things get outside far enough, if you place that bet here, you lose. You have to really hit that bottom peak, and it's really hard to determine like when is this going to stop going down, and I have no idea how to do that yet. This may be a good graph for actually placing stop losses and targets, because if my stop loss, like if I start seeing this signal here as up, when this crosses the line somewhere in here, and I buy right here, and I put my stop loss here, and my target higher than that, if it's not a super downtrend, then that could make this a really good chart in theory for actually trading in that manner. So those are some of the things that I've been looking at. Let me switch to a different chart and see if I can see anything else that's super interesting to talk about in terms of what I've been learning. But that is really, kind of watching for this to be above, and watching both of these and really trying to only place bets where it seems, like it's really going to work out. And I think part of that is just watching the trend. And so there have been some where it's been like down, and I put the bet in because the RSI is lower and the stochastic oscillator is below and the lines cross. And so I put the bet in, and then it takes a big drop and then takes another big drop. And I'm like, okay, well now for sure it's going to go up. And, obviously there's nothing that's for sure. That could be tanking another, day in a row or something. But, in this time period that we're looking at, 1 minute, it's still gonna oscillate. So I do sit and watch those charts. I do need to find a better way to display multiple charts at a time where I can click through at the top. So it may end up being multiple browser windows open, all logged in and just showing kind of one chart on each window. Because if you do go to the multiple, like if I go to 4 charts here, it basically takes away my top row and I have to select the chart from over here, which I don't like. So maybe that's an improvement that Pocket Options could make, is put this at the top of all of them, or let me pick which ones I want in each window. That would be fantastic, but we will experiment with that probably today or tomorrow. And then the other thing I learned was there used to be, right at the top of this, there used to be a little bar that showed left and right, like the signal trades kind of do, where it's up and down. And it used to show, let's see if I can turn it back on, this thing. And so this is the direction of all currently open trades placed by platform users for the asset on the chart. And I've noticed that I turned this off because I'm pretty sure it's meaningless to me. I'm placing 2-minute bets. These other traders could be placing 2-day bets or 1-day bets. Like if you look at these signals over here, this is a 1 minute, a 2 minute, a 45 minute, or an hour. This is a 1 minute, 55 minutes, 10 minutes, 40 minutes. I mean, 1 hour, 4 hours, 2.5 hours. These are large differences in time. And so, this person that's wagering on an hour thinks it's going to go up, but 2 minutes from now, it's probably going to be down. So I literally just turned this thing off because I think it was affecting how I looked at other stuff. And even these trades, right? Like I'm sure there is a mental well, I think it's going to go down. And when all of these are like red and they're all shorter trades like I'm going to place, and I see that, I'm like, well, that confirms my bias, right? So it's very interesting to note what your mind is doing, and even just the patterns that you think you see, right? The patterns that I'm pointing out, they are somewhat consistent, but they are also wrong, like a lot of the time. So, the strategy I think of that I'm employing right now for this particular site and these assets is working. I don't have obviously enough data, but with the kind of tweaks I've made to it from the original strategy that I had learned about, because the original strategy I don't think would work at all. It was essentially anytime this pokes above yellow and the lines cross, like here, you would put in a down. And so it's really difficult. I kind of added this RSI in from another strategy I had read about, and then have kind of tweaked that based on, hey, historically on this graph, right? Like right here, this is at about, let me pop this up so it's a little bigger. Right here, this is probably at 78% is what it says. So, if we scroll back and we look for, other things that are that high, that's 80%. So at 80%, it definitely dropped. So for us at, here was our 78%, at 78%, I'm pretty sure it's coming down. If I go back every time, and every time it's that far above, if it comes back down and drops, like here it dropped as well, and that's another 80%. This one is 78%, and it also dropped. This one is 78%, and it would have dropped, but just barely in the 2-minute time period we're doing. This one is 78%. That would have dropped, and this one is 75%. So when I look at things like that, I feel pretty consistent, or pretty consistent. I feel like the chart is pretty consistent in what it's showing me, is that when it gets to 76% for this particular asset, which is the franc versus the krone, then I am very willing to place that bet. So as an example, the other things I'm looking at are, hey, this is about as high as it's been in a long time. And this is either where that's super helpful. So like, I don't know that it's going to get through that resistance right there because it came down before. And so if this gets above 70 for me, and these are both above 80, I will totally put a down bet in, because that just seems like it's a no brainer. And then, sometimes what I found is it doesn't matter. It just continues to shoot up. So, you're not going to win them all. And this is really a place lots of bets and be, slightly better and win more than you are losing. So you can already see it's coming down, which is unfortunate. I was hoping this would get up and we'd get to stick a live trade in here while we're recording this video, and maybe we still will. We can sit here and watch this one for a bit. But those are really the things I learned. And then there was one other thing, just although I can't even think of it, maybe I just explained it about the signal thing. Yeah, so we can see this is probably going to take a strong downturn for probably down to here. And so this is also be one of those cases where if I had my like Tradevate or NinjaTrader or whatever account I'm going to open, which I need to figure out this weekend, I would definitely be putting in a trade here with a stop loss like here and a target like down here. So probably a 1 to 2 or 1 to 2.5 or even 1 to 3 risk reward scenario. And I think finding those, I will end up hopefully winning a lot of those after watching these graphs and having these signals. So that could be pretty profitable. But that is all I have for today. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment if you have questions or comments. If you think I'm insane or you think this is great, anything you think I could do better or things you'd like to hear about, I'm happy to put those in here as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.